Here we are back at it on Broad Street and beyond. Another episode about to kick off. I would be Chase. That beautiful young fella next to me, yeah, that'd be JT. A nice background there, buddy, today. That's a nice background.
Thank you. Young fella? Did you call me a young fella?
You are a young fella. Aren't you younger than I am?
No, I don't think so.
No, you might be a couple years older than me. You got a little more gray than I got. I only got a couple grays.
Definitely a lot more gray, that's for sure.
Welcome in the YouTube world here to Broad Street and beyond. Successful last week for all of us. We had, of course, World Series champ, Cedar Crest grad, and University of Virginia grad, Derek Fisher on the show. You can check out that episode right now. That has launched. This week, not a bad week here for Phillies sports. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit. But just as we open every show, we got those 3 questions to warm up JT. We got the Halloween holiday coming up next week. JT, that's how we're going to start this off, buddy.
You're going to ask me what I'm going for trick or treat?
No, I'm not going to answer that question. Here's the first question, buddy. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, first question. Do you have a favorite holiday?
Oh, Christmas. Easy.
It's a good one. For Halloween, if you were trick-or-treating, would you rather have peanut butter cups or Jolly Ranchers?
Oh, peanut butter cups. But yeah, when you go house to house and you're getting candy, you need real candy. You need something with chocolate. None of this Twizzlers, none of this lollipop stuff. No Jolly Ranchers. That Jolly Ranchers, that's for another time. No. It's all about the sugary, chocolatey, rot your teeth candy. That's what trick or treat is all about.
There's a lot of sugar in Jolly Ranchers, though.
Well, that's true. But it won't rot your teeth like chocolate.
That's right. What was your favorite Halloween costume when you were a kid?
If I can remember back, I would say when I was real young, I went in elementary school. I think I went one year as I think I was the Lone Ranger.
Nice. Very nice. Remember back in the day in the 80s when we had the plastic masks that you couldn't breathe out of?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember those were.
Yeah, they were. JT, busy week of sports, not only in Philadelphia, also beyond. Let's kick it off with the MLB playoffs. Of course, the National League Championship Series. That wrapped up, like 2 months ago already? Dodgers blowing away the Milwaukee Brewers in that series. The Dodgers going to the World Series.
No match.
Surprise there. And then ALCS, we find out who they're going to play after last night's game. Seattle takes an early lead. And then George Springer with the Springer Dinger and the Grand Slam in the bottom of the 7th inning last night. For the Blue Jays, they're going back to the World Series. We all know the last time they were there, 93 against our Philadelphia Phillies. So it's the Blue Jays taking on the Dodgers. Your thoughts there, JT?
Well, I was really pulling for Seattle because they've never been to the World Series. And, I'm still not over 1993, so I'll never root for the Blue Jays. So now it's down to, which of these two teams do I hate less? Actually, I just said I can't root for the Blue Jays, but I think I hate the Blue Jays less than I hate the Dodgers. But yeah, you really feel for Seattle there. They have the 3-1 lead, and then George Springer with the as you said, the Springer Dinger, the 3-run homer in the bottom of the 7th inning to give him the lead. And then, of course, just to rub salt into the wound, who's out there on the mound to close it out for Toronto? But none other than Jeff Hoffman out there striking out the side, just in case we were still, as Phillies fans, salty about how the postseason ended and how the bullpen faltered. But should be an interesting series. I think it'll be a fun series. I guess it starts Friday night in Toronto. I got to go right now. I would say I give the edge to the Dodgers. I think they're well rested, and their starting pitching has been absolutely fantastic. Blake Snell, Yamamoto, and Ohtani and Glasnow, and they haven't had to dig too deep into their bullpen, so their bullpen's fresh. And two really good hitting teams, though. I really like the way both teams approach their approaches at the plate, both the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. So I think it's going to be a really fun series. I really hope it ends up being a long series just because of how good both of those teams are. What do you think?
Yeah. A lot of folks saying it's going to go to 7 games. It's like you said, you got to feel bad for Seattle, though, man. Cal Riley had a humongous series. So did Julio Rodriguez. They both homered last night. But in the end, man, the Blue Jays just, they're a young team. They don't quit. They always fight to the end. And you saw it last night in that game, man, where Springer comes up. Perfect timing for him. He's had a lot of playoff big game hits and none bigger than last night for George Springer as the Toronto Blue Jays. Last time they were there was 1993. I mean, he did his best Joe Carter impersonation last night. We'll see what happens here in the World Series when they get there. But do you think I got a couple questions for you with this World Series. Do you think
Okay.
the best 2 teams are in the World Series? And then the second part of that is, do you think anybody else in the country cares about the World Series except for Canada and California?
Well, no, I think a lot of people will tune in. I mean, the Dodgers have a nationwide appeal. There's a lot of Dodgers fans, I think, throughout the country. They're kind of like, one of the it teams in Major League Baseball. And Ohtani is like an all-world type superstar. So, people are going to tune in that aren't, even on the East Coast. So I think the Dodgers are going to, the appeal to the Dodgers is going to drive that viewership. Obviously, having a big West Coast market in there is going to help the ratings. So yeah, I think the TV ratings will be pretty good. Yeah, I do. I mean, I know the Dodgers were only the number 3 seed going into the playoffs, but I think everybody kind of thought, deep down that they were the team to beat. I know the record didn't indicate it, but they had a fair amount of injuries to their starting pitching throughout the regular season. And, we had talked about back in the NLDS, the Phillies, Dodgers, 2 teams that were built for October. And the Dodgers, of course, with their star power and, their starting pitching, they're definitely built for this time of year. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, even though I always kind of felt like the Dodgers were the team to beat in the National League, even though, the Phillies had a better record and the Brewers had the best record in baseball. And the Blue Jays were, they kind of, once they faltered a little bit, maybe in late August, early September, but, about the middle part of the season, they jumped ahead of everybody in the AL East and stayed there the rest of the way.
Yeah, one thing for Toronto, too, man, you got to watch the bottom of that lineup, too. Very productive in the ALCS as well. It wasn't just the top 3, top 4 hitters for the Toronto Blue Jays. Even the bottom of the lineup was crushing the ball, even up to the game yesterday. So a lot of big-name guys coming through and a lot of guys that you never would have thought for the Blue Jays coming through in that ALCS, too.
Yeah, and I think, that's what that's what has to happen when you make a postseason run. You need guys to step up. You need, production from all over the lineup. And, like I was saying earlier, the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, like they have guys all throughout their lineup that are tough outs. I love the way they approach an at bat. They're not going to strike out as much. They're going to try to do what they can do to put the ball in play. Getting back to real quick, that ALCS game last night, I really would have loved to see if Julio Rodriguez could have gotten on base there with 2 outs. He had the count, I think it was 3-2. And if he could have somehow gotten on, and that would have brought Cal Raleigh to the plate, that would have really made things interesting. Raleigh going against Jeff Hoffman, but credit to Jeff Hoffman for getting the job done. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, as a baseball fan, looking forward to seeing how this World Series plays out.
Game 1 is Friday night. Game 2, Saturday night. Both games going to start off up there in Canada in Toronto. Let's go on into some college football, JT. Let's start off, which these were not on the notes, but let's start off with the James Franklin ESPN college football interview from last weekend. Did you get a chance to check it out?
I did, actually. I'm not a regular watcher to College Game Day because, usually doing other things. I did tune into the very first one of the season because I wanted to see Lee Corso's last appearance on College Game Day. And then, of course, they were, hyping up this first interview, this exclusive interview with James Franklin. And, I mean, it wasn't nothing really earth shattering came out of that. I mean, it was a lot of softball questions, to be honest. And once I did some digging, I was texting with two of my buddies, and I found out that both James Franklin and Nick Saban have the same agent. And that's kind of what this was. It was really just something orchestrated by Jimmy Sexton, their agent, to kind of get James Franklin on camera and kind of present himself and kind of give his side of the story. I mean, I don't know if you watched it, but it was a lot of softball questions, and then you had the whole rehearsed, contrived thing with Nick Saban talking about how unfair it was for the way Penn State treated James Franklin, and he deserved better. And I'm thinking, Nick Saban won like 6 national championships. It's easy to sit there for him to sit there and advocate, for James Franklin. I mean, these national pundits were killing James Franklin for how many years for not winning a big game, and then he's on there and they're treating him like royalty, as if,
like he did
I don't
something.
know, as if, we fired. Yeah, like that, as if we, Penn State fired Bear Bryant or something like that. Again, they didn't ask him any. It was all his side of the story. I really thought if they're going to ask a tough question, why wouldn't someone ask him whether or not it was true, as it was being reported, that he went around or above the AD Pat Kraft to try to get another contract extension in the offseason. Again, this was just an audition for him for his next job, and I'm pretty convinced he's going to land somewhere next season. Oh yeah.
A lot of rehearsed questions for James.
And then the whole
ESPN College Game Day. Yep.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. So we'll see where James Franklin does land. He also did mention, of course, in that interview that he's going to bring a national championship somewhere else. Where that's somewhere else.
Well, I mean, I guess he's got to say that. Yeah, who knows? But he's got to say that. He's just trying to, again, he's trying to make himself look good for his next potential employer. So we'll see what happens. I know there's 2 openings down in Florida. No, he's going to end up. There's 2 Florida schools looking for a head coach for next year. I could see him landing there possibly.
We'll see where Franklin lands. Let's get into the actual game of Penn State taking on Iowa. Yet again, I mean, they played a great first half of the football game for Penn State. They kicked it off. Wheatley had that interception on the first drive for Iowa. You thought it was going the right direction for Terry Smith, his first coaching gig as the Penn State Nittany Lion head coach against Iowa, but it was all for naught. 25-24, the Iowa Hawkeyes defeat Penn State in some questionable calls, too, at the end. It's like I said to my buddies, too, over the weekend when that game ended, they may have fired James Franklin. Kotelnicki is still there as the offensive coordinator, and you saw that at the end of the game again.
Yeah, they tried. The one thing, they had the lead there. I think it was 21-16, and they went for it around midfield. They tried the I feel like the play calling has gotten a little too cute at times. They tried that play where the quarterback was back in the shotgun, and then they tried to do the tight end under center sneak like they did last year a bunch of times with Tyler Warren. Well, Luke Reynolds isn't Tyler Warren, and he wasn't able to pick up the first down. That was kind of a turning point in that game. And then, of course, they got gashed on some big quarterback runs by Gronowski, and that's the third week in a row where the defense has just continued to give up big plays. Now they've had some injuries at linebacker, so their depth isn't quite what it was at the beginning of the year. But it's really disappointing to see the defense is kind of taking a step back at times. Again, a game that was. They should have won, a game that was there for them to win, and they're finding all the right ways. I guess they're finding different ways to lose, the right ways to lose, and so two 1-point losses, and then of course, as I'm sitting there stewing over the loss, I get a text from you talking about how you can already taste that smash burger, and I told you Rutgers and Michigan State. Don't forget.
Listen, I ain't backing
Don't forget.
down. I am not backing down
Don't.
from my comment of Penn State is not going to win another game this season. It's like you just mentioned. I mean, the 4th-and-1 play when Penn State went for it, that was late in the third quarter. Iowa got the ball right back. First play after that, the running back from Iowa sprints 21 yards. They kick a 32-yard field goal. Iowa, they're only down by 2 points in that fourth quarter. Katron Allen actually rushed for a decent amount of yards in that game. Grunkmeyer, though, not superb in his debut, of course, for Penn State as the redshirt freshman quarterback, 15 of 27, 93 yards. He also threw 2 picks there. But a big game, though, for Katron Allen. Also a solid game for Zakee Wheatley for Penn State on defense. He had those 8 tackles, the 1 INT. DeLuca had a good game with 4 tackles, too. I mean, you can't question that the Penn State Nittany Lions aren't playing with passion in these past couple of games, but it is just all for naught. I mean, especially you saw that they lacked confidence in that redshirt freshman quarterback in that game towards the end. I mean, they were not throwing the ball in that last drive until the final play when they had to.
No, I think they. Yeah, I think they were trying to keep. I think they were trying to keep it safe. They didn't want to take any big risks with him. I don't know how many reps he got. Well, this is his first week of practice, probably where he got a lot of meaningful reps. But even when Aller was in there, I mean, the biggest thing you keep coming back to is for whatever reason, these past 2 seasons, Penn State has not been able to develop a consistent vertical passing attack. I don't know what it is about wide receivers in this offense. They just, it seems like they bring in wide receivers who have succeeded elsewhere, and then they come into Penn State and they just, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's the concept of the offense, the routes that they're running, but it's like, this is a whole new group of wide receivers, that simply can't get open. And I think Runkmeyer played okay. He did the one interception was a great diving play by the safety. It actually ended up to almost like a punt when you look at it. The one to Reynolds, he kind of fired it off of his face mask a little bit, and it popped in the air, and that ended up being an interception. Again, and then I don't know how much of a great idea it was to mix in the other quarterback. Was it Smolik? I don't know that really helped Grunkmeyer with his rhythm at all to kind of have both of them cycling in and out, but. Again, I think the kid played hard, but they just, he's just not ready yet. Maybe later in the year, maybe as the season goes on and he gets a little more confidence. I think if you're looking for a real bright spot offensively, is that they have finally committed to Katron Allen being the featured running back. I think that was definitely long overdue. He had a terrific game. I mean, it ended up getting wasted because they didn't win the game, but. If you're looking for a bright spot, I guess you can hang your hat on that one.
It rushes 145 yards for Katron Allen. Nick Singleton, what are they going to do with him? I mean, he didn't have a big game this week. Hasn't had really any big games here this season so far. Is Nick Singleton going to be their go-to guy at some point in time this season, or is he?
No, I think they're pretty. I think they're pretty.
You think he stays?
Well, I don't. Well, I mean, he got a lot of money to stay. Now, whether or not that lasts through the whole season, but I think early on, I think James Franklin was committed to making both guys happy, and now with a different guy in charge, and the offense struggling the way it did, I think they decided, well, we've got to give Katron Allen more touches. He's been the better running back. He's earned those extra touches. So, they did put Singleton in there, and we'll see. Maybe that'll benefit Nick Singleton. Maybe him coming in and being used a little more sparingly like Allen was, maybe that'll help him. Maybe that'll keep him a little fresher. We'll see if like a reversal of the roles there between those two ends up benefiting both guys. But right now, I think you have to go with Katron Allen. He's earned those extra touches.
4 straight losses for the Penn State Nittany Lions. They got a bye week, much needed, as they did when they were taking on Oregon. Had the bye week. Now they get the bye week when they take on Ohio State. What's going to happen out in Columbus in 2 weeks?
Ooh, that's can they get an extra bye after that? Can they get 2 weeks to prepare? Maybe.
No. How about a bye during the game?
You don't think? I don't think that's going to help anyway. Maybe Penn State will surprise us a little bit in terms of, maybe they'll hang in there a little bit, but I don't think they're going to be able to hang with them for a whole game. They're just, Ohio State is head and shoulders way more talented than Penn State. Maybe if this season didn't go off the rails, we would have a little bit more to talk about, but I think it's going to go exactly how you think it might go. Even when Penn State's had some really good teams, they haven't played well in Ohio State. I think they won, I don't know, maybe one or two times since in Columbus since they've joined the Big Ten. They've come close a couple of times. I remember, I guess it was Barkley's senior year. They led for most of that game, and then Ohio State made a huge rally in the fourth quarter and ended up winning, I think it was like 1 or 2 points or maybe by a field goal. It escapes me. I remember it was a really tough loss to take for Penn State, but no, I don't expect much out of this game. We'll see after that. And then they've got Indiana coming to town. And then we'll see. They have Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers to close out the year. And that's
your new school, Rutgers.
What's that?
Your new school, Rutgers.
My new that's yeah. I'm holding out hope for that last game. If they can close out on a good note and have something to build on for next year. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. It might get ugly here in 2 weeks out in Columbus when Penn State takes on Ohio State. Let's switch gears over to the National Football League. Some big news today, matter of fact, for our Philadelphia Eagles there, JT. We got number 55 coming back. Brandon Graham made the announcement coming out of retirement here to come back for his 16th season. How much is he going to help our Philadelphia Eagles this year?
Well, I think he's going to give them some depth. Depending, I guess he's healthy, or he wouldn't be considering. He wouldn't have considered unretiring to come back. They definitely need some depth on that defensive line, especially defensive end. They had a ton of guys last year that they could cycle in at defensive end, and they could just keep coming at teams. And for whatever. Well, Nolan Smith is hurt, so that hurts their depth. But I think the fact that Brandon Graham coming back, it's good to see him back. I don't know if that's a great sign that they need to have him come out of retirement to give them some help on the defensive end front. We'll see. I'm excited to see what he can do. I guess it sounds like he didn't want to really retire, but really didn't see a roster spot for him. So he just kind of, he just retired, but it didn't seem like it took much convincing for them to get him to come back out of retirement.
Yeah, they said he's been over at the NovaCare complex practicing, working out. So we'll see what Brandon Graham does. I don't think he's going to play in this game against the Giants. Maybe next week, they said, against the Packers, correct?
Yes. I don't think he'll be ready to go. I think he's got to ramp up a little bit. So we'll see. He's coming back. Hopefully, Nakobe Dean is back, so it was good to see him playing on Sunday. But, Nolan Smith comes back, and maybe as they get a little more healthy, a little more depth, maybe, that could bode well for them down the rest of the season.
Yeah, the Eagles could use him on the edge, and, of course, a good locker room guy, too, Brandon Graham.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, welcome back.
BG is back,
BG.
baby.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. Of course, the Eagles got a big win over the weekend against the Vikings, 28-22. We saw the aerial pass attack, finally, of the Philadelphia Eagles. Not much in the run game again against the Minnesota Vikings, but huge day for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, it was great to see. They finally, I think some of it was Hurts improvising a little bit, getting out of the pocket. He and A.J. Brown on that 4th and 4 play, the first touchdown of the game, that was all them because the route wasn't real great that A.J. Brown originally ran on that play. But, yeah, him hooking up the big play to Devontae Smith. He hooked up with A.J. Brown twice, so that's good to see. It's funny. they really are determined to establish the run, but the offensive line isn't what it was last year. Now Cam Jurgens got hurt, so they had to put Toth there at center. Again, we talked about Tyler Steen at right guard is not as good as Mekhi Becton. Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson have kind of been nicked up throughout the year, but it was good to see. It was good to see, it's something that I think you and I have talked about that this offense has been capable of doing. It's baffling why we don't see that on a more consistent basis. Especially when teams are playing man against the Eagles receivers. I mean, with the speed of Devontae and the physicality that A.J. Brown brings to the table, just makes either of them a really, really tough matchup.
Yeah, and it seems like Saquon Barkley in the backfield. I mean, he can't even get any traction in that backfield with the way that offensive line is right now.
No.
He has yet to even gain 60 yards or more in any of the games. The 6 of 7 games, struggled again with only 18 carries, 44 yards, no touchdowns, but they got to get Barkley started in some sort of way. I'm not sure exactly how they get him started. You see every week he comes out and says different things of what needs to be done, but it just still does not happen for that running game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, maybe to get him back on track, they have to do it a little bit in reverse, where maybe they have to become a little more pass heavy than they want and work those guys in, work A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. I'd like to see Jahan Dotson get more involved too. I think when he's had some opportunities, he's been able to do some good things for them too. So maybe if they kind of get some consistency going, maybe a little more up-tempo with the passing game, maybe that'll start to loosen up that defense a little bit. Teams won't be as geared up to stop the run, and that could open some things up for Barkley. And then, and then you would think it would be, then everybody would be clicking at the same time. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see if they can get it started this week against the Giants, which, Eagles looking for some revenge after taking it on the chin at the Meadowlands just 2 weeks ago. So we'll see what happens.
And Johnny, they're going to wear the throwback jerseys this Sunday.
Are they? They're wearing the Kelly Greens. Oh, that's even better.
Bringing them out. So
now I'm really pumped for Sunday.
Hey man, they always play good in the Kelly Greens too. So we're looking forward to Sunday for sure.
They do play good in the Kelly Green.
A lot of big numbers. Of course, Jalen Hurts, 326 yards, those 3 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 183 yards, 1 touchdown. We hope to see that and much, much more against those New York football Giants coming up here on Sunday down in Philly. Switching gears, we already talked about the Steelers losing. Ravens were on a bye. They take on the Chicago Bears here in week number 8. Other notable games in the NFL, too, JT, from over the weekend. We know the Steelers losing to the Bengals, but how about the Cowboys-Commanders? That was not much of a game. The Commanders falling to the Cowboys and making the Dallas Cowboys look like a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, Dallas looked really, really well. They, CeeDee Lamb and Kevontae Turpin were both back for Dallas, so now they've got all of their receivers clicking. All 3 of those guys are in there. I think makes that definitely a dangerous trio. Javonte Williams has been quite a find for them at running back. And then Washington, I think, has taken a step back. They're really banged up. All of their top receivers are out, and now it looks like, Jaden Daniels came out of the game. I don't know what the extent of his injury is. It looked like, I guess it was a hamstring, so they had to go with Marcus Mariota. So, now Dallas is starting to get healthy, and Washington is starting to get really banged up. The knock on Dallas has been their defense. They look better defensively. We'll see if they can keep it going. They've looked really good at home, and then they've looked pretty ordinary on the road. So I think Dallas is kind of a tough team to figure out. It'd be really nice though if the Eagles can get some revenge on the Giants coming up this Sunday and be 6-2 going into that bye week, have a chance to heal up, because then the schedule has some teeth to it after the bye week.
Yeah, 44-22 winners as the Cowboys beat the Commanders. Another notable game out there, JT. Could be the best team in the National Football League right now before we switch gears to the NHL. Those Indianapolis Colts, 6-1, beating the Chargers 38-24. Is Daniel Jones and the boys from Indianapolis for real this year?
Well, I think they're going to win that division. I don't know. I don't know if they're for real. I mean, I think they've benefited from their schedule. I mean, they're definitely better, but every year there's one of those teams that kind of comes out of the pack and kind of surprises people. I'm just trying to take a look as I'm talking to you here. I'm trying to look at their schedule for the rest of the year. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, maybe they're not, I don't know if they're for real, but their schedule says that, it might not matter. They got the Titans coming up this week. Then I'm looking here. They got the Steelers. They got the Falcons at home. Then they got the Chiefs, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Seahawks. I mean, I don't know. Their division's not very good, so I'm looking at this stretch here. Like I said, they got the Chiefs on the 23rd. They got the 49ers and the Seahawks in December. I mean, it might not matter. They've got the schedule that they could really make some waves, I guess, there in the AFC. And, with the way Daniel Jones is playing.
Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, too, rushing that football. And Tyler Warren, man, for Penn State. He's making quite the difference out there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, he's been fantastic for them. And you just mentioned Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I think that he's having the best year of his best season of his career. I think this could really be his best ever season, the way he's running the ball. He's had some injury problems the previous few seasons, but he's 100% healthy and clicking on all cylinders. It's an interesting story. I mean, a resurrection of Daniel Jones, kind of a resurrection of Jonathan Taylor, the emergence of Tyler Warren, and Shane Steichen doing a heck of a job, the former Eagles offensive coordinator who we hated to see leave.
Yeah. Last one from the NFL, the Lions last night on Monday Night Football run all over the Buccaneers. Both teams now 5-2. See what happens here coming up in week number 8. Switching gears over to the National Hockey League. We'll start off with the Capitals. They beat the Wild last Friday. The Capitals back on a roll once again. They are now 4-2, but they did lose and take on the Kraken here tonight on this Tuesday is when we're recording this. But they did lose the other night, falling short to, Vancouver the other night.
Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, so dropping 4-2 on the season for the Washington Capitals. What do you see so far from those guys? Ovechkin got the first goal the other night, too.
Yeah, he did get his first goal. I guess the big story coming out of the Caps was the hit that Tom Wilson had in the game on Sunday. There was a lot. He wasn't penalized, and it looks like he's not going to get any discipline. I slowed it down. I actually watched it a couple of times. I don't think it was a dirty hit. I think it was a hard, clean hit. It didn't look like he got his elbow up. It didn't look like he raised his elbow to go to the head. I think he got him, kind of right with his shoulder right into the guy's chest. He just kind of caught him napping a little bit, coming over the middle of the ice. I think it was a good, clean hit. But if you have two shadows on that play, if it's not Philip Scheidel, who has had concussion problems, and it's not Tom Wilson, who has a reputation of laying on dirty hits on players. Maybe we're not talking about that hit as much, whether or not it needed to be a suspension.
Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson every year is the poster child for just dirty hits every single year in the NHL, and he's a hard-nosed player, but he's got to watch himself as he gets these games.
He's always making the headline, but he's such a lightning rod for the Capitals, and here we are talking about him. But he's also the leading scorer. He leads them with 9 points. So, he is such an important part of them. And I think it affected them last year a little bit when he was out of the lineup. But it seems like they're picking up right where they left off. They take to
he's got 4 goals.
Alexei Protas, he's doing really well.
Assists or something this year, 2 for.
Yeah, and once again, Lindgren and Thompson have both been really solid in goal. They both have great goals against averages. So again, they're picking up where they left off. They've all bought into Spencer Carberry's system, and maybe they're going to prove me wrong. I didn't think they would be quite as good as they were last year. finishing with the best record in the Eastern Conference, but
playing well.
They're probably going to be right in the mix again in the Metro Division.
Yeah, former Golden Knight Logan Thompson with 3 wins.
LT
for those
Washington
Capitals.
The new LT, right?
Yeah, the new LT. You got it. Let's switch over to those Philadelphia Flyers. They are stunning the National Hockey League world right now. 3-2-1. Got a victory last night. The Flyers playing good hockey right now, JT.
Yeah, they look pretty good. They had that was a nice win that they got on Saturday against Minnesota. They looked really good last night. They looked really, really good. They got 2 goals on the power play. They seem to play better. I know they haven't really. I think they're still doing a platoon right now in goal with Sam Ersson and Dan Vladar, but Vladar has looked like the better of the 2 goaltenders. And early in the first couple of games, Rick Tocchet was flip-flopping back and forth between starting Vladar and then he would start Ersson. But he started Vladar twice in a row now against Minnesota and then last night against Seattle. So we'll see. Now they're on the road. I guess it's Thursday in Ottawa, so we'll see if he goes with Vladar again. He looks the steadier of the 2. But it was nice to see. It was nice to see a game where they kind of, they didn't have to kind of grind it out and sweat one out. The Michkov, Zegras, and Konechny both looked good together last night. The best line has been Forster, Bobby Brink, Tyson Forster, and now I'm going to draw a blank.
Noah Cates.
Noah Cates, thank you so much. Noah Cates, that's been the best line so far. So we'll see. But they're going to need some of those other guys. They need Konechny to get going. They need Michkov to get going for them to have any chance to have an improved season, I think.
Yeah, Konechny scoring his first goal last night. Of course, Owen Tippett. He's having a pretty good season so far as well.
Yeah, I neglected to mention Owen Tippett. He has been scorching hot. He's had a goal, I think, in the last at least one goal. I think it's the last 3 or 4 games. He's really, really playing well. He didn't look like he was looking too sharp early in the year, but again, if he can get it going too, that bodes well for them down the road.
Yeah, Zegras, he's got 5 assists this year for the Flyers. Also, Tippett, he added that goal in the third period. That was his 5th of the year. Couturier gets his 5th assist. No scoring in the third period last night in that game. But interesting of note, in that Wild game, JT, Vladar only faced 16 shots. 15 of 16 of those. It was the first time in almost 20 years the Flyers held their opponent to 16 or fewer shots in consecutive games.
Well, I think they've bought into Tocchet's system. I think they're doing pretty well defensively. I don't think as a whole their core, like, they still don't have like that number 1 elite defenseman, but they seem to have packed it in pretty good. They did a good job last night of sort of muddying up the middle of the ice last night against Seattle. They didn't have a whole lot of room to operate, so they played pretty well defensively. And they've been at home now for the last couple of games. Now we'll see if they can take that on the road coming up on Thursday against Ottawa, who's who can be a really tough matchup for them.
Yeah, I like their start, man. 3-2-1. I think that's a pretty decent start for the Philadelphia Flyers. Like we said multiple times, they got a young team, and just like the Blue Jays, man, they can nothing to lose mentality when you're playing with a young team like that, and we'll see what the Flyers do. The Penguins played Saturday night. They play again tonight against Vancouver. They're, of course, sitting atop of 4-2. They're sitting at 4-2, I should say, on the season. Malkin scored his second. Also, Anthony Mantha scored his third to round out the scoring. Jari was pretty good in the net for Pittsburgh as well. 31 out of 31 saves, clean sheet for him. 22nd shutout for Jari in the NHL as well, and Pittsburgh continues to roll this season too.
Yeah, they had a pretty good road trip out west. I think they lost their first game out west, but then they won their last 2. They beat the Kings and they beat the Sharks. They've gotten really good goaltending. Is it Dan Muse, I think, is the new head coach out there in Pittsburgh. He sort of has a platoon going with Seelovs and Jari. And both have played really, really well. And Crosby and Malkin have kind of carried them a little bit here in the last couple of games. We'll see how long that lasts. But I think Pittsburgh's off to a better start than maybe a lot of people thought, maybe better than I thought. So we'll see. I mean, it looks like it's turning out to be a pretty balanced division so far in the Metro. And that's why I kind of say, like, even though I think the Flyers can be better this year, if the Penguins are better, you got the Hurricanes, you got the Caps, and the Devils are going to be pretty good. Now all of a sudden, now where do the Flyers fit in? Are they, we're already, I just mentioned 4 teams, and if the Flyers are like only 5th best, well, where does that,
right.
That leaves them trying to scratch and claw for a wild card spot. But again, it's early. We're not, I think you got to wait at least till maybe the end of November to kind of get a sense. Maybe early December, you're starting to get a sense of kind of where these teams are going to go.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Let's talk about the 2 undefeated teams, though, in the NHL, JT. You want to go there? 5-0-2. Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche, the only 2 undefeated teams in the NHL. I know you said last week you wanted to dive in. We can dive in briefly of where this came to be, me wearing a Vegas Golden Knights jersey.
Well, I gotta hand it to you. You've been with them through thick and thin from the very beginning. Yeah. They're all 7 years of their existence. I mean,
I gotta tell you, man.
You've been it.
I think that my biggest thing. I'll tell you right off the bat. You know it. I was the biggest Washington Capitals fan. Following those guys coming up from the Hershey Bears. But I think once Cody Eakin, remember Cody Eakin?
Yeah.
Once he signed with the Vegas Golden Knights, man, that turned me on to the Vegas Golden Knights, and I haven't gone back since. A lot of the former Hershey Bears players, Mason Norelli, he played for him. Chandler Stevenson, that's this jersey here from 2023 when they won the Stanley Cup against the Florida Panthers. But a lot of former Hershey Bears played for the Vegas Golden Knights, and it's tough to watch them, though, man, when they're playing on the West Coast and playing at 10 o'clock at night. But that's what I got.
Well, that's true.
That's what I got the ESPN package for, and they're off to a pretty good start, too. Pavel Dorofey, he's got like 7 goals. Mitch Marner's has helped them. Eichel's playing really well this year, and they've really put it together to start.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Vegas I think once Jack Eichel went out there, I think that was really a game changer for them. Jack Eichel's career was kind of middling out, plateauing while he was in Buffalo. I know he had some injury issues, and he was kind of falling out of favor in Buffalo. But once he got out to Vegas, he really resurrected himself and turned into, I think, the dynamic player that everyone thought he was going to be. And again, for them getting Mitch Marner in the offseason, I would love to have that. That would be one place I would want to go see a hockey game, because it looks like that atmosphere is absolutely electric. I would love to go out to Vegas to see a Vegas Golden Knights game.
Yeah, their intro, man, is just second to none. When you watch their games, man, how they just put everything together, you can tell it's out in Vegas, man, the entertainment capital of the world. We're going to see what happens with Aiden Hill, though. He left last night, the game in the first period, with a lower body injury. Kira Schmidt came in and played the rest of the way, but hopefully Aiden Hill is going to be back on the mend for Vegas. Switching.
Yeah, I was just real quick. I thought that was a real good win for them last night. They gave Carolina their first loss of the year. So, it's hard to see. I mean, it just seems like every year, even though Vegas might not be like the heavy favorite to win the Stanley Cup, it seems like they're always in the conversation. I thought they had a really good chance last year. They're going to have a really good chance again this year. You think of Vegas, you think of Colorado. We'll see if Dallas is back in the mix, and of course Edmonton. It's kind of like you're kind of seeing those 4 core teams that kind of seem to emerge when you get into the playoffs, and then of course you see if Winnipeg can kind of repeat the success that they had last year.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see how far Vegas and Colorado can keep on going as the only 2 teams that have not lost in regulation in the National Hockey League as well as of yet. Let's switch over to the AHL, wrap up the show here, Broad Street and beyond, with the American Hockey League. The Bears over the weekend taking on Springfield. split the difference on Saturday and Sunday, two completely different hockey games for the Chocolate and White. Saturday's big win, they won 5-1 on Saturday, and then came out and just completely tanked in the second game on Sunday.
Yeah, it was nice to see the way they came out and played against Springfield on Saturday night. A couple of guys got their first professional goals, and then I didn't see too much of. I saw some of the highlights of the game Sunday. It looked like they were a little loose with the puck in their own zone a couple of times. They had some really costly giveaways. Really looked susceptible on the counter rush a couple of times. I don't know if you were you at any of the games over the weekend?
I was not. I listened to both games. Of course, Zach Fish on the Bears Radio Network, but the first game was something else, man. They played like they haven't played all year so far on the early season, and then the second game. You really saw the youngness of the Hershey Bears coming out in that second game. They were also without Ethan Frank. He wasn't there. Miroshnichenko wasn't there. But the Sunday night's game was complete opposite. Couldn't get anything started from start to finish in that second period, I believe, when Springfield had those goals. They just you really saw the youngness of the Hershey Bears on Sunday.
Now I know we talked about Ethan Frank got recalled by Washington. Was Miroshnichenko recalled, or was he hurt, or what?
He was hurt.
Okay,
so coming back this weekend, but he's been hurt, so he was out. Stevenson didn't have much of a chance. Most of those goals that were scored on Sunday, they pretty much aired him out in the net on Sunday with no help. But we'll see what they do. They head on the road this weekend, Friday, and I believe Saturday, home and home against Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting couple of games. Lehigh Valley's a kind of an upstart team this year. There's a lot of prospects that the Flyers have had that are in Lehigh Valley this year that, they're hoping to develop. We'll see how it goes. Alex Bump is one of the guys that they're pretty high on. Denver Barkey's another one. Alexei Kolosov has been their main goaltender. He's played pretty well early on in the season. But yeah, getting back to the Bears, I think I looked this up the other night. Of their 7 leading scorers from last season, I think 6 of them are no longer with the team. So it's definitely a new look Bears, obviously, with a new head coach too. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of new faces, and I think it's going to take a while for this team to gel, and it'll be interesting to see. That was a real entertaining series last year with the Bears and the Phantoms in the playoffs. But I'm really anxious to see how these two teams fare against one another coming up this weekend. I guess Friday's up in Allentown, and then Saturday they're back at Giants Center.
Yeah, always a big rivalry between those two teams, as it should be, being so close, just like the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Penguins as well. Looks like Henrik Rubinski's playing well this year. He scored consecutive goals this weekend. Elias Protas, he scored as well, maybe taking the lead from his brother up there in Washington. So we'll see what they can do. It's going to be an interesting mix this season with the Hershey Bears, too, with Stevenson and Bjorklund in the net, to see who kind of gets the better end of that. Stevenson obviously has been with the Bears here for a couple seasons, but we'll see who actually takes over that net, either Stevenson or Bjorklund for the Hershey Bears this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So I'm looking here. It looks like Rubinski and Trinyev are the two leading scorers here in the early going. Rubinski is the only player that has more than 1 goal so far. But they haven't scored a lot of goals either. Apart from that, the win on Saturday against Springfield where they had 5.
Yes, the Bears will take on Lehigh Valley in the American Hockey League. Of course, you can catch all the games there on Froggy Valley 100.1. JT, it's been fun as always, man. Another episode of Broad Street and Beyond. As always, like, subscribe, and share. We are growing our listeners on a daily basis. You don't have to pay anything when you subscribe to us. You just get the weekly updates, of course, on all the latest episodes. But we'd love for everybody to get involved and share. That's what's going to grow us here at Broad Street and Beyond. We'd love to bring you right into your home talking sports. That's what we love to do, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. We've already done, we've done 4 of these type of episodes. And, of course, we did the one bonus show with Derek Fisher last week that went up actually this morning, right? It was up. We put that up this morning. So a really good conversation. We did about 30 minutes with him, and he was really, really a great interview. So I urge everyone to go search that out and find it. And I think you'll enjoy that interview. It was great to talk to him, especially this time of the year as we're getting ready to get into the World Series.
Yeah, we got a lot of great ideas, a lot of great interview ideas as well for everybody out there in the YouTube world. So stay tuned to Broad Street and Beyond. More exciting episodes to come. JT, as always, buddy, thank you so much, and enjoy your week, man.
All right, you too. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Enjoy the sports.